Hello and welcome to creatingforgrace.com. Today we're going to make this Thanks a Bunch card. I did use a lot of the little die cut flowers. The stamp set we used is the beautiful Bouquet, and the only stamp that we really used today was the Thanks a Bunch. Everything else I did do with die cuts. I took the base paper and die cut out what would have been green stems, and instead I layered the green behind it so that the stems would show through the paper. So we started with a Whisper White and then a Wild Wasabi, and then we did the Whisper White second layer, die cutting out, leaving that green to show through. The sentiment is stamped in Garden Green. These are meant to be little wrapped cords. I actually did them twice, and it's what this guy is. So it's meant to look like a bundle, and I did 2 of them in the Daffodil Delight, and then just kind of offset those. The smaller flowers are these, and I did all of those in Daffodil Delight, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. And then this is the larger flowers, and I did all of those in Cherry Cobbler, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 of those as well. Put those back on here, and I guess the other stamping I did, I always tell people, remember to make your envelopes pretty. So I took the spray of flowers, which is this one right here. This is the actual size. I did that in Daffodil Delight, and then I did this smaller kind of a burst flower, and I did that in the Cherry Cobbler, and that's this guy right here. So I'm going to set those aside. And I've pre-done everything to save some time. So really the only design elements here, these are the flowers that I've cut. And like I said, we had the 4 and the 4. And this is what I mean by leaving that background open. And then of course the sentiment for the Thanks a Bunch. So the first thing we're going to do is layer the flowers on. So I have the multi-liquid glue, and I'm just going to add some just on the edges of the petals. And it doesn't come all the way to the bottom, but just about. And this doesn't have to be exact, so you want it to have a nice look, flowing kind of, so, and a little bit tucked behind, so leaving something open and something untucked. So if we do that, and then our next one would be, again, with the Cherry Cobbler. Add the Daffodil Delight. We're just kind of working our way around. Next is the Cherry Cobbler. Slip a little bit of the Daffodil Delight in between to give that some contrast. It's going to go kind of above and below. We're going to add our Cherry Cobbler. What I often do is I will lay out these layers before I glue them down, so I get a feel for where exactly I really want to have everything and kind of what will give me that best look. That, and our final layer is going to be the Daffodil Delight. Again, we're going to go in front of and behind. So the one thing I did do to really bling this up is I used some of our rhinestones, and I put one in the center of every red flower. And I do like to use the paper snips to pick those up. I think it makes it pretty easy. And that's the end of all that. So hopefully speeding that up helped a bit. I'm going to set that aside a little bit. We're going to stamp our sentiment, and that's our final thing. You do want to be careful anytime that you are using a photopolymer stamp. I often like to put the foam pad underneath it. And it looks like we got a little bit of our Tombow on here. Let me use our adhesive remover, which is an amazing thing to have. Really comes in handy. I'm going to open up the garden green, and I'm going to ink this up. And what I tell people all the time, when you're stamping directly to your card, you may want to take a piece of scratch paper and stamp that sentiment and just see how that is stamping out. So sometimes it's better to have a little pressure on one side than the other. If you have a part that could kind of carry a little more ink, you'll know that. And it's a good idea to do before you stamp directly to your finished card front. It saves you from having to recreate everything. So it gives you a really good idea of how everything will stamp out. I'm going to set those aside. We'll take a look at the envelope here. Again, this was stamped in the Daffodil Delight and Cherry Cobbler, and that is our finished card. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope that you enjoyed today's tutorial, and if you have any questions, email me at creatingforgrace@gmail.com, or you can go check out other projects on my blog. It's creatingforgrace.com. Thanks, and have a happy day.